In today's video, we're going to look at some ordinate dimensions and creating a table. So we're going to have to see that we're going to have to create a style anytime we do a table. And with ordinate dimensions, there's a little trick to get them to read the dimensions on this. As you can see also, you have some dimensions with 2 decimal places on this side, and you have some with 3 decimal places. When you see anything like this, that tells you that you're going to have to either create 2 dimension styles, or you're going to have to create or do a lot of editing in your properties on one other one. In my case, or in this case, I'm going to create a separate dimension style for the ones on the right. Okay, so let's go ahead and switch on over to AutoCAD and start drafting. Now you can see that these shapes are really easy to create. I'll create the one on the left using a Polyline. So I'll select here, start with the Polyline command, select our point. Let's go ahead and turn the ortho on. Go down a distance of 0.75. Go to the right a distance of 2. Come back up a distance of 0.5. Let's go to the left a distance of 0.75. I'm going to go back up a distance of 0.5. Let's go to the left here a distance of 1. And then let's choose the arc and then close. Next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and put my circle in, and you can see that that circle is located 0.5 this direction and 0.5 this direction. So let's use circle, center diameter. Use shift and right click, and I'll choose from. Choose this endpoint. Type in the @ symbol. 0.5, 0.5. Enter. And this one has a diameter of 0.375. So my picture on the left side here is all done. Let's create the one that's on the right side. Start with the line command. Start my location. I'm going to go to the right a distance of 1.75. I'll go up a height of 1.5. I'll go back to the right a distance, to the left a distance of 0.5. Then let's go up a distance of 0.5. Come back this direction. What I'm going to do is touch this endpoint and come straight above it just to track off of it. Do a left click there and then close. You can select the word close on your title block, or you can type in C enter. Next I'll do the chamfer, so choose chamfer. Distance 0.5. It's going to ask you for the second distance, and in this case it's the same, so I'll just hit enter. And I only have one of these, so I'll go ahead and put my chamfer from between these 2 lines. Let's go back to the chamfer command. Distance 0.25, and then it's another 0.25. I'll use the multiple option, and then I'll put a chamfer between these 2 lines, and then between this line and this one at the top. And go ahead and place in your circles, kind of like how we did on the other one. So I'll choose circle, center, diameter. It's asking me for a location. Shift right click, choose from. Click this endpoint, which will type in 0.375. Oh, sorry, I need the @ symbol first. So at 0.375, comma 0.375. Remember, anytime you use that from snap, you have to type in the @ symbol. You can see from the table this one has a diameter of 0.25. Let's go ahead and create our next one. So circle, center, diameter. It's asking me for a center location. I'll shift and right click, choose from. Choose this endpoint. Type in the @ symbol. 1.063, comma we're going to go up a distance of 1. Enter. This is our C dimension, so the diameter of this circle is 0.5. Let's go ahead and place in our last circle. So circle, center, diameter. Shift right click and choose from. Choose this endpoint. Type in the @ symbol. And then give it the coordinates. The x coordinate in this case is 0.625, comma. The y is 1.875. Enter. Diameter, and this is 0.38. It looks like I may have a dimension wrong on my drawing. And I think I do see where I went wrong. Okay. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to correct this by using the stretch command. Let's go ahead and offset. Choose a distance, which is 2.25. And I'm going to offset this bottom line going up that direction. This tells me that this line should be located at this position. Let's choose stretch. Remember, with the stretch command, you have to use a crossing window. So I'm going to click over here to the right side and drag and include all of these objects. Now you see I have an object in here that I do not want to move. You can hold down the shift button and click on that circle. Enter. Pick a base point. So I'll select this endpoint and then I'll place it on that endpoint. Escape. And then go ahead and delete my line that I used as a reference. Okay, so now I have both of my shapes drawing. I'll go ahead and insert in our title block. I'll use the classic insert command. Browse to wherever you keep your title blocks. In this case, let's go ahead and use an A size title block. Okay, make sure none of this is checked, and then select OK. Your title block will appear wherever you have the 00 location. So now I'm going to go back to this drawing, and I actually see that I made one more mistake here. Let's go ahead and do one more offset just to check and make sure. The distance will be 1.5. I'll offset this bottom line going up that direction. This also tells me that this edge should be in line with this one. So I'll use the stretch command again, and what I want to do is enclose the area that I want to stretch. So in between this line is where I'm going to start here on the right side, and then I'll enclose it like so. Hit the enter button, select this endpoint, and then I want to come down to this perpendicular. So I'll type in the first 3 letters of the O-snap that I want to use, and it's PER, enter. I can click anywhere on this line I want, and now my shape will snap down to it. Okay, so everything looks correct here. We can look at our title block and we can see that it's really big compared to our drawing. So let's go ahead and compare it to our scale factor sheet and see if any one of these will fit. You can remember with this one we're going to be using the mechanical scale. So all the scale factors that I'll be looking at will be in this location. So I'll start adjusting and seeing which one of these will fit. And these are going to be the coordinating scales that I will use. If none of these fit, we do have a standby or something that we can use to correct. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to put this at a half scale. So I'll select my title block, do a right click, choose Properties. When the Properties dialog box appear, you're looking for Scale X, Scale Y, and Scale Z. And I'm going to put these down at 0.5. And then I'll come and place my dimensions on the inside. Well, sorry, not my dimensions, my drawing. So let's go ahead and move those 2 drawings and see if they can fit. I'll turn the O-snaps off. Sorry, not O-snaps, the ortho off. Then I'll place my dimension on the inside. You can see here I can get them both in, and these do not have to be in line with each other. So if I move this one on the inside I can get both of my shapes in, but my dimensions around this will be a little bit tighter than I would like. So if a 0.5 scale won't work and a 1 is too big, I'll go ahead and adjust my title block to one of them that's not on the drawing. So I'll turn these into 0.75. You can see that my title block is adjusted. And now in the scale box, I'm going to type in not to scale. So if you have something that you want to scale it to and it doesn't quite fit all the things that are in this dialog box, you do have this option of typing in not to scale. Or if that's too much, you can abbreviate that as well to n.t.s. Either one of these is acceptable. Okay, so with our title block inside, let's go ahead and adjust our line type scales. So LTS, enter. You can see that the scale factor is 1. Let's make it 0.75. Let's create a line going right down the middle of our title block. So I'll create a line from this midpoint down to this midpoint. I'll go ahead and separate these on both sides. So let's go ahead and move this shape along here and move this shape somewhere in this location. Let's go ahead and put our center marks on now. So that tells me that I have to type in the center layer command, and I'll set my value to center. Now this drawing is created using inches, so I don't have to worry about adjusting the extension lines on my center marks. Let's go ahead and switch over to annotate. Center marks. Select this circle. And select these circles as well. We don't have any center lines to worry about, so the next thing I'm going to do is start setting up my dimension style. So I'll go to dimension style by selecting these little tabs, and this is another way that you can go to your dimension style. This little tab here is our text style, leader styles, or multi-leader styles, and we're going to see this one in this example. It's going to be for our table style. So let's go ahead and look at our dimension style. Modify. And once again, I like to start all the way over here to the left. And I'll leave this stuff alone. Everything here is fine. But underneath my symbols and arrows, change my center marks to none. Text. Let's go ahead and change this to 0.125. Underneath the fit, we need to adjust this to the same size as our title block. Primary units, we have 2 decimal places. And we don't have any tolerancing on this one, so I don't have to worry about any of this other stuff behind. One other thing you can see is that we do have our leading zero suppressed. So I will put a check in the box of my leading zero suppressed for my dimensions. And then I'll close this. Go ahead and adjust this to make sure all of my dimensions put on the correct layer. Now we're going to use Ordinate Dimensions. And if I select in the drop down and select Ordinate, I'll place it at this endpoint. And I'll come straight down, and I like to have my ortho turned on. So when I place that dimension and click here, all of our dimensions should be different. The reason being is that we put this location of this part or shape in different places. Let's go ahead and delete this line or that dimension. And what I want to do now is I want to move my UCS. So I want you to select this X and Y, select the box here on it, and then put it at that endpoint. Now when I do an ordinate dimension, it's reading from this endpoint going down. I like to use the continue option to make sure that all these stay in the right line. So choose continue. This will allow me to select this endpoint and then this endpoint. Let's go ahead and escape. Let's go back to Ordinate Dimension and create this Ordinate Dimension. Choose the Continue option. So I'll choose this endpoint and then up to this endpoint. I have one more, so make sure you escape between each one of these that you create. Go back to Ordinate, click this endpoint and place this dimension, and then I'll create the last ordinate for this one, which is located here. Let's create a diameter dimension on this circle. I'll place it here. You'll notice that this one has 3 decimal places, so go ahead and select your dimension. And if you have your properties window open, you can also right click on this and go to properties. It'll do the exact same thing of reopening this dialog box. I'll scroll down till I find primary units. I'm looking for the word precision, and I'll change this to 3 decimal places. Just make sure we escape out of that, or make sure we clear these grips. So that's all I'm doing with the escape button. Go ahead and create a radius dimension on this radius and place it here. Okay, so all of my drawing on this one is done. I will move it a little bit just to make sure it's in the right position. So let's go ahead and move all of these shapes. And I want to move it over just a tad bit. I'm going to move this up because I do have a table underneath this. So I'll go back to the move command and I want to move this drawing up a little bit higher. I'll select my UCS, select the square, and I'll place it at this endpoint. You can hit the escape button twice and that will clear the grips. Now with this side of this drawing, you can see I have 3 decimal places. So let's go ahead and create a dimension style for that one. Select the drop down underneath this annotation. And this second icon is the exact same thing as going to the other tab and selecting that little arrow pointing down. So select that. Create a new one, but I want it to copy from this one. So I have this one highlighted. And I'll select new. I'll give it a name of something that I can recognize. So I'll type in 3. And I usually like to type in DEC, something that's shorthand to abbreviate decimal, or you can spell out the whole word decimal. So you can see that it's automatically starting with this one. Let's choose continue. The benefit of starting with the other one is that it keeps all the properties that I did before. So you can see underneath symbols and arrows, I had this set to none. My text height is already adjusted. The fit tab is okay. So the only thing that I have to change is the precision. Okay, and close. Let's go ahead and create our ordinate dimensions on this one. So our ordinate dimensions on the home tab is going to be located underneath this drop down. And choose ordinate. Choose this endpoint and come down. Now some of these ordinate dimensions are going to be a little bit closer to these, so you're going to see it's going to automatically put in a jog line for you. I'll switch to the annotate tab since I want to use the continue option. And you're going to see as some of these dimensions are close, it will get a jog into it. So I'm just selecting these endpoints, and here's our first one, and you can see that it has a jog because these are really close to each other. So it likes to space out the text. So select that endpoint, and then that endpoint. I'll go back to the ordinate dimension, and I'll work on these dimensions on my left side. So go ahead and click and locate this one. Then choose the continue option. Make sure you're clicking these endpoints. Let's go back to ordinate. Select this dimension or this endpoint. Click here, and then use the continue option. So I'm going to this endpoint, this endpoint, this one, and then create my dimensions here on the right side. So Ordinate, it's located here, continue, and finally my last ordinate dimension is here. So now I want my ordinate, or I want my UCS to go back to the right location at 0, 0. So where it says unnamed, I'll select this drop down, and then I'll type in WCS. That's going to automatically put our UCS, or our coordinate system, back to 0, 0. You see I have a little bit more room here at the top, so I'm going to move this drawing up a little bit just to make sure I have plenty of room down here for my table. So I'll go to Move, and I want to move this. I'm just kind of eyeballing it up, and I'm looking at my text just to make sure that it's not going to cross my title block. Okay, so the next thing I need to do is go ahead and create my table style. So I'm just going to pan over a little bit, give myself some room to create a table. I can use the table command from here, but I don't know what the style is set up to look like. So in this drop down, I'll choose this fourth option is my table style. Once I click that, a dialog box should appear. You can see that this is the only style where I do not get an annotation option. So when we start looking at annotation or doing things with annotation, this is the only one that I can't use that option with. Let's go ahead and modify this. And in this dialog box, this controls how your table is going to come in. For example, do you want the title to be at the top, or do you want the title to be at the bottom? So you can control which direction your table is going to go. In this case, I want it to go down. This tells me what cells that I'm going to be affecting. So if I want the data cells in here, I have this set to data. I'll change this to 0.125. I'll take a look at my headers. So if these are located or named as headers, I want this to be the height of 0.1875. And then if we want to change the title, in our case, we can adjust these to be that height. So now this is the way you can set it up. If you have some other stuff that you want to do, you can always use on these general tabs, and you can change the justification of them, or you can put the borders around them just like how you do in Excel. Let's go ahead and close this. So I'll hit OK and then close. Looks like I have an extra ordinate dimension. Let's go ahead and delete that one. Now I'm ready to insert in a table. So let's go to Table. And you can see here is where everything is going to format to the way I adjusted the table style. My first row, in this case, is not going to be the title row. I want it to be a header row. The second row, I want to be a data row. And everything else underneath should be data. How many columns I have is going to be 3 in this case. I like to leave the width alone. I'll adjust it if I need to inside the drawing or as I'm creating it. The data rows tells me how many data rows I need. Now remember that the first row is still going to be considered a header, although the picture has changed. The second row is going to be data rows. So, sorry, the first row is still considered a title row. This is still considered a header row, and then everything underneath it. So in my drawing, we're going to need 2. Let's go ahead and choose OK. And then I can go ahead and place it. Once you place your table, you can start in typing. So I'm going to type the first one. And I usually like to hit the tab button to go over to the next one. And I think I can't type today. diameter. I'll hit the tab button. I have DEPTH, depth. This is A. Don't worry about the formatting of your text as you type it in. I'll type this as through, and then I'll keep going. So this is B. I'll type in the dimension. I'll leave the through off on this one. I'll go down to the C, and then I'll type in 0.5 for this one. And you can hit escape to get out of this. So I'm going to select the one that has the through in it. Then I'll select this little down arrow here to the right. And this is kind of like the field that you see in Excel. So do one left click on this and then just drag it down to this endpoint. You're going to see that it will copy it. You can also see that some of my cells are justified as top center. So I'll select this icon here at the top left. Go to alignment and tell it that I want to adjust everything to be middle centered. Now I want to go ahead and change this a little bit, because you can see that my text in here is not located to be the right thing, or not formatted to be the right thing. So what I'm going to do is do one left click inside of this box. I have this one highlighted. Do a left click and hold and drag down and select all of these. While you're inside of this box, do a right click and go to data format. Inside data format, I'll select them as decimal numbers. You can see it says use the current units. Let's go down to additional formatting. In our case, we're going to suppress our leading zeros. So let's go ahead and put a check into that box. Choose OK. And I'm sorry, I didn't select the word. I have decimal number here. I didn't select the word decimal here. And this is where I can adjust my precision. I do have 2 decimal places, so these are going to adjust back to 2 decimal places. And also in the additional formatting, I did suppress the leading zero, so these zeros should go away. Let's go ahead and choose OK. And then one more OK, and you're going to see that it will adjust these. Now what I like to do is kind of squeeze things and put them together, but I'll do that after I move it into the location that I want it. Go ahead and escape out of this. Now this table is really came in at 1:1, so I need to scale it down to get it to match the same size as my dimensions and things that I have inside of my drawing. So go ahead and use scale. Select your table. Enter, and I'll select the base point. This endpoint is fine. And then the scale of my title block is 0.75. Now let's go ahead and move this into a position that we know where we want it. Go ahead and turn ortho off. And I'll place it along here at the bottom. I'll select this column. Select this blue grip. And make sure that your O-snaps do not try to get in your way. If they are, remember that it's easy enough to just turn them off. You can hit the F3 button. You can select this icon and just drag things to the right. Go ahead and adjust this one as well. And then I'll scoot this one over a little bit. You can kind of play with this and get it in a position. Just make sure that you have it clear of your title block at the bottom. Okay, so that looks good enough for me. I'll hit the escape button. Last thing I need to do is put my text as located on my words here. We're going to make that text height 0.1875. So let's use single line text. I'll pick a justification point, so I'll just pick here. It's asking me for a height. Remember, I like to use the calculator, so apostrophe CAL, enter. 0.1875 times whatever our scale factor is. In this case, it's 0.75, enter. There's 0 for the rotation angle. Now it's ready to type. Type in a B, left click somewhere, then escape. Let's go ahead and copy that text. So copy, select the text, and I'll select a base point. I'll locate it here, and then here. Turn my O snaps back on. You can double click on the text to edit it. Should get a box up here. Go ahead and backspace and make it a A. And then I'll do the same for this one. This is going to be my C dimension. Okay, so for this one, I will give my project a name. So go ahead and select your title block. Remember that it does appear in your attributes, or you can use the ATE command. In this case, let's just call this one Table. And go ahead and fill in your name. What I want to do with this next is I want to go ahead and print this as a PDF. So that way we know how to print things, and I want you to make sure that you include the PDF inside the Dropbox. So I'll go ahead and close my dialog box here. Control P. In the drop down, choose DWG to PDF. ANSI, scroll up till you find Full Bleed. This is an A-size title block, and it's 11 by 8.5. Choose Extents, Center, uncheck the Fit to Plot box. Make sure this is set to 1 and the bottom one is set to 0.75. And if I want this to come out black and white, underneath this drop down here, you can choose Monochrome. Tell it yes. If you take a preview of it, you will see that this drawing is indeed black and white. And select OK. And once you do that, it's going to ask you that this condition is not equal to a scale. Just always check this box and tell it to continue, and then it'll ask you for the location of wherever you want to place that dimension. I'm sorry, that PDF. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed all of these steps to creating a title block. And you can see that we did, or was able to set up a table. Remember that anytime you set up these, you're going to have to use a table style. It's probably a good practice to put this on the text layer. And that's just simply selecting our table and then putting it on the appropriate layer. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this, and once again, thank you for watching.